Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I've decided to share my thoughts on the new live-action Mulan movie. We've been waiting for it since March. I've been waiting for it since the day they announced it, but you know, with COVID and everything, we've been waiting for it for months. So I just got home from the theaters and put my thoughts down on paper, so let's talk about the movie. I'm gonna preface this entire video by saying that Mulan was my favorite Disney princess. Until Moana showed up to the scene, Mulan was my absolute favorite princess. She was badass and cool and did what she wanted, and she was bold, and I admired her for all of those things. And I was very conflicted when they announced this movie, but I was also very excited for Asian representation in the Disney world and, you know, in the larger Western media as a whole. Yes, we got Crazy Rich Asians for Asian representation, but this is a whole new aspect of it, and it was very exciting. Just the idea of it was very exciting. So, as with any live-action remake of original Disney cartoons, the directors and the creators and the writers kind of add their own take to the story. We've seen it time and time again, and this time around, I think I did appreciate the changes that they made. One of my favorite things about this version of Mulan was that Mulan had ownership of who she was, and she had more agency. Like, she had the opportunity to present herself as she wanted from a certain point onwards. It really added to how powerful the character was. Secondly, oh my god, I watched it in the theaters and the scenes are fantastic. I loved every little thing that they plucked out from the cartoon itself and made it real. That was just cute, and it brought the sense of nostalgia. It felt kind of comforting while watching it on the big screen. But I also loved how magnificent things looked in this movie. The visuals just added such an impact, like the Imperial City or the mountains that they're at. Even the scenes where the regiment is training, I love how I could still picture the cartoon scene of it, but they still made it look so good. And honestly, one of my absolute favorite things about this movie was the female antagonist. I think it was such a great addition to the movie, because by adding this female antagonist who is classified as a witch, it draws more focus into Mulan's internal struggles, and it forces us to look at all the possibilities for Mulan. One of the things that I really appreciated about this female antagonist is the fact that she's an older woman trying to find her place as well. We're watching her having had way more struggle than Mulan had, having fought to find her place, having suffered and dealt with way worse things than any one of us could imagine, and we get to contrast that to Mulan's experience. And it really goes to show us how the littlest choices in life, the people around us, how so many factors contribute to how a person is formed and how someone's life turns out. So that, for me, kind of made the movie more about Mulan than about the war in China. In the cartoon, yes, it is about Mulan and it's about her fighting the battle and winning or whatever, but the focus was on her protecting the emperor. Here, because of the portrayal of Mulan in the live action, the story became about her conquering her own demons, her learning more about herself, and her making the choices that were right for her. Although this is also where the movie kind of falls into very typical patriarchal tropes, it further emphasizes this narrative that only one woman can be exceptional at a time, and that it's limited. You know, a woman's ability, or rather women's ability on the larger scale, is limited to one hero or one example of goodness and one example of badness. It fails to show us a world where they can work together. It fails to show us a world where there is more in between these two very extreme options. I do like the fact that these women interact. They find a character, or rather kind of a solidarity between one another, although they're on such opposite ends of the spectrum. And that is just another sign of how women can still understand one another, which, you know, for so long I feel like the media kind of stayed away from showing us, unless it was like romance related. Women rarely ever agreed on things like this. But now that we're actually changing and looking at a media where the portrayal of women are a little bit more realistic, it's really nice that Disney took the step to show us women on opposite ends understanding one another and trying to figure out how to get the other person to a better place. When you watch the movie, you'll understand. So now let's look at the things that bugged me about the movie. I don't know what it was about the live action version of the movie that made everything just seem that much heavier, that much more, well, real, that I found it hard to appreciate their attempt at humor. I honestly was sitting there and hoping that they would just take a darker approach. Like, that movie, in my opinion, could have just done so much better as a dark action film with a very different kind of comedy, as opposed to the ones that they tried, because they were trying to stick with the comedy tone from the cartoon version, which just doesn't land, which made the entire writing just feel weird. It just complicated the tone, and as a viewer, as a part of the audience, I just wasn't connected with parts of it, which is really not fun. Like, the problem was, on one hand, it was not Disney enough, and on the other, I just wish it didn't have any Disney influence in it at all. That middle ground that they were trying to get was just not working for such a heavy theme, you know? Certain parts of the plot wasn't as clear as it should have been. For some reason, I didn't resonate with Mulan's struggle as much as I should have. Maybe because I was expecting the same struggle that she went through in the animated version, or maybe it's because Mulan here is just a little bit of a different character. Like, she is not the same as we know her as, right? So her struggles just didn't seem to find its place in my heart. I wasn't as emotional about those things. On the other hand, they really did capture the sense of pride really, really well. And I'm not talking just Mulan, I'm talking about the family and the people in her little village house place thingy, or the emperor, or everyone. The sense of pride was something that was conveyed very well to the audience. Or even the sense of strength. They did a good job of expressing that and making the audience feel it. I just wasn't feeling it with the struggle. I felt the other emotions, like her frustration a little bit in the beginning, or the sadness that they were feeling when the father was chosen to go to war, but I just could not resonate with her struggle. And I feel like if you're not resonating with the main character's struggle, it's just something's not right. At the end of the day, I do still think everyone should watch this movie because it is still very entertaining and it's fun. And if you're a Mulan fan, you would enjoy this take and this view of the character, because it does feel a lot more like she's a legend, which is what Mulan is supposed to be. She's a folklore. And this approach to the story really gives that feeling. The cartoon version, the animated version, just felt like, okay, you know, she's a cartoon, whatever. It didn't feel as legendary as it should be. Here, the actress playing Mulan had the opportunity to express herself in a way that you find it easy to believe that, oh, she is remembered in a poem because she is that special. So I do recommend everyone go watch this movie. It's a movie with war and fighting that children can watch, which I get it. That is why it's a Disney movie and it's not as dark as I would like it to be. It's not something that you should skip just because Mushu is not in it. It's not something you should skip just because the songs are not in this movie, because all of those things being removed adds more to the fact that this is a legend that is supposed to inspire people. Thank you for watching this video, you guys. Till I see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.